Hello, aspirants. Today we are here to discuss the questions of mains GS3 paper, and I'm going to take the questions from Indian economy section. Okay, so you have economy, environment, science and technology, and security as the topics in GS3. We are going to cover in this part. We are going to cover
Hello,
economy
aspirants.
section, and
Today we
tomorrow
are
at
here
1 p.m.
to discuss the
there will be the
questions
discussion
of
of the rest of
mains
the questions that
GS3.
you have in GS3. Okay. So let us start a discussion on economy questions first. Okay. So this is the first question. Why is public-private partnership required in infrastructural projects? Examining the role of PPP model in redevelopment of railway stations in India. Okay, redevelopment of railway stations in India. So this is a question on PPP, and you have this topic investment model, okay, in your syllabus. So this is directly inspired from that particular part of the syllabus. Okay, so how to approach this question? You're going to have, you're going to provide an intro, then body, and then answer. How to introduce your answer here? You can come up with a definition of public-private partnership, or you can come up with why it is required. Okay, so you can frame intro in that area. What is PPP? How to how to define it? So it can be simply defined as the arrangement between public and private sector entity. Okay. And the purpose is the construction and maintenance. Construction and or maintenance of infrastructure. Okay. So this is what you know as PPP. You could have introduced your answer by simple definition of public-private partnership. Okay, this is one model of investment. Now, why PPP is required in infrastructure development? So that is the first part of the question. So this is the first part needs to be answered first, and how to answer it. So why it is required? So why PPP in general is required? So that is the question, that it is mainly for infrastructural projects. So PPP, how this is beneficial? So here you could have talked about various things, and this was a rather easy question. Okay, infrastructural projects में PPP क्यों चाहिए? तो infrastructure, what is the feature of infrastructural projects? First feature is that it requires, or it has long gestation period. Yes, long gestation period. तो इसमें returns क्या है? कुछ बाद आते हैं, कुछ टाइम बाद आते हैं. So it is going to, so investment in infrastructure is going to give you returns after a time, and that is why you don't see private sector getting incentivized or being motivated to invest in infrastructure projects on its own. Okay, and secondly, this is ultimately what is the purpose here? Public interest is to be served. Okay, so generally what you see that PPP model is adopted for maintaining, for constructing public goods which are for public use. Okay, public use. So you do not get private sector participation, okay, where private sector is itself incentivized or motivated to go for this kind of investment. Okay, so that is why public participation is also required. Now, public participation or public sector might not be able to have that kind of expertise. Okay, sometimes there is there are no funds also. Okay, so all that necessitates the partnership of these two sectors, and then that ensures that the infrastructural development will take place more efficiently. So efficiency is also the reason. Why efficiency will be there? Because efficiency is going to come due to participation of private sector. Okay, private sector will be motivated to make profit, and that is why, that's from the simple logic, the whole process is going to be more efficient. Okay, it is going to be more sustainable also. Okay, the viability of the project actually is something that is secured by the partnership of by public private partnership. So the infrastructural projects become more viable. Okay, now through PPP, what you actually gain is public interest, achieved by the publication by public sector, because that is what the infrastructural projects aim to secure, that is public interest, and rendering of, you can say, private sector technical efficiency technical efficiency and professionalism. Okay, professionalism. So technically, you see private sector to be more efficient. Okay, so technically more efficient, and the very process of developing the infrastructure, so that is more professional with the participation of private sector. Okay, you have different models. Okay, for example, build operate transfer model, build own operate transfer model. Okay, hybrid annuity model. So all those models actually seek to achieve what? Seek to achieve public interest through the participation of public sector, along with rendering of technical efficiency and professionalism by participation of private sector. Okay, so this is what that is why PPP is required. Okay, it brings efficiency, sustainability, viability. Okay, the whole process becomes more efficient. Technical expertise is utilized. Technical expertise and efficiency of private sector is utilized. Okay, their professionalism is utilized. Okay, and because it requires long gestation period, and private sector itself is not going to be incentivized, and public sector will not be having the required amount of funds. So the whole model actually makes the project viable. Okay, commercially viable, profitable for private sector. Okay, and also leads to the generation of assets which are in public interest, which are for public use. Okay, and infrastructural projects are required for the economic growth. So you can say that infrastructure is the very oil of the economy. Now, second part, the first part was rather easy. Second part was more specific. Okay, but not difficult, and was very much in expected line, because a lot is happening, a lot of things are happening in this particular sector. Okay, so examining the role of PPP model in redevelopment of railway stations in India. Okay, the redevelopment of railway stations in India. Now, a lot of things are going on. For example, national infrastructure pipeline is there. Okay, so it is aiming for 11.43 lakh crore rupees of investment. Okay, till 2024-25. Okay, so out of 111 crore rupees, lakh crore rupees, this much is to be invested in railways. Okay, according to National Infrastructure Pipeline. And then you have this plan of Rail Land Development Authority. Now, this RLDA, this is spearheading around 60 railway stations for the development of 60 railway stations in PPP model, PPP mode. Okay, so the question is actually, then you have Gati Shakti, of course. So that is why I say that a lot of things are going on, and that is why the question is very much expected. Okay, कि ये पूछा जाना चाहिए था और पूछा गया. तो इसमें you have seen that the first part of the question is very general and the second is more specific. Okay, so you have to examine the role of PPP model in redevelopment of railway stations. Okay, against this background, so you will provide the background that what is happening. Okay, so yes, the government, your prime minister also categorically said on one instance that PPP model is going to be utilized for the redevelopment of railway stations. Okay, so now this PPP model that is being utilized here is going to follow two components. The first is mandatory station redevelopment. So there are two components of PPP model in the redevelopment of railway stations. The first is mandatory station redevelopment and second is commercial development. So this is something that you needed to mention here in your answer. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of mandatory station redevelopment? This is for, you can say, smooth travel, smooth or hassle-free travel. Okay. And what about this commercial development? This is for encashing on revenue streams that are existing. Okay, so this is also important because only because of this commercial development, that is encashing or utilizing of the revenue streams available, opportunities available in railway stations, the whole project will become viable. Okay, because funding is always the issue. The whole project has become viable, has become attractive for private investment because of this commercial development, revenue streams, encashing of revenue streams, utilizing of revenue streams. Okay, so these two components are there in while government is planning for utilizing the PPP model in redevelopment of railway stations. Okay, so you have to examine it. You have to show the background, then you have to examine it. So what are the benefits? Definitely, there are clear benefits of this model of development. And what are those developments? What are those benefits? You can list them out. For example, there will be better utilization of land. Okay, so better land utilization, better or more efficient land utilization will be there. Okay, then you can also say better amenities. Better amenities will be there. How? Because there will be modernization of railway stations, and that modernization is spearheaded by this kind of model, this kind of developmental model. And modernization, by modernization we mean that modern amenities are to be provided, then better sitting facilities, lodging facilities, okay, Wi-Fi connections, then separation of departure and arrival, as you see in case of airports. Okay, departure and arrival. Then very important factor that through this, what is to be secured, that better connectivity with roads. Connectivity with roads. Okay. Not only roads, but on the basis of multimodal transport. Multimodal transport. Okay. It is also aiming for providing security. Okay, improving the surveillance infrastructure, security and surveillance. Getting it? Now, understand this. With better connectivity, don't you think that this is going to have a spillover, a cascading effect, a spillover effect on economic activities also? Yes. So it is going to have a positive spillover effect because of better connectivity and all on economic activities. So in and around railway stations, there will be promotion of economic activities. Okay, with better facilities and modernization of railway stations, what will happen? There will be boost, or you can say promotion of boost to, it will boost tourist potential. Okay, tourism potential. Okay, that itself is going to promote economic activities again. Okay, so these are the advantages of, is what you have to examine. So you have to provide the cons also. Okay, examine the role of PPP model in redevelopment of railway stations. So you provided the background that how this is being envisaged. So what are the two components of the model here? And then what are the benefits? What are the supposed benefits of this kind of development? Okay, you already have seen that in this these measures of the government are making news. Okay, so government has already given Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus and New Delhi railway station for redevelopment on this PPP model. Okay, many other uh, railway stations have been given, have been, the steps have been adopted by Railway Land Development Authority for redevelopment of railway stations, and the number goes around 60. Okay, so almost 60 such railway stations are there. Okay, now what are the cons? What is the negative side of this, or the flip side of this step? The flip side or the cons of this will be the general arguments that you provide against PPP model. Okay, PPP model. Okay, so what are the problems? For example, first problem is this, that is still India does not have standard PPP practices. Okay, so standard PPP practices are still not present in India. Okay, now which are the countries which have been successfully benchmarked or set the standards? Benchmarks for PPP practices. These are Australia, France, Japan. These countries have set the benchmarks for PPP model, and still we are not even close to the models, the benchmarks that they have set. Okay, there are various lacunas, various problems, issues. For example, generally it has been seen that in contract agreement, unforeseen cost is not evaluated. Okay, so there is no proper assessment of unforeseen cost. Okay, also it has been seen that there is no clear demarcation of responsibilities. Okay, no effective dispute settlement, no effective dispute settlement system. Okay, so generally all those arguments that you write against PPP model actually will also be relevant in writing the cons of this question also, this particular part of the question also. Okay, so this is how in this question, this was an easy question. You needed to explain that how this is going to be beneficial, and then what are the things that need to be taken care of. Okay, so this is something that you needed to provide. Now, other than this, what else you could have provided in this question is general understanding that you develop in investment model chapter. Okay, so see the last part of the question that I have dealt here is actually the general understanding that you develop in investment model chapter. क्योंकि वही चीज़ें तो यहाँ भी फर्क डालेंगी ना. आप पीपीपी मॉडल की जो कमियां पढ़ते हैं उन कमियों से ही वो कमियां भी यहाँ भी काम करेंगी. ओके, आपने स्पेसिफिक वे में ये बताया कि हाउ पीपीपी model of redevelopment of railway station is going to be beneficial. Okay, so the cons of this will be similar to what you see in case of PPP model of investment. Okay, so that is something that you needed to show. So I think this was an easy question, or आसानी से हो जाता. Okay, now the question on inclusive growth, a very important and one of the favorite topic of UPSC. So you get question almost every year in this from this particular topic. Okay, so just read the question that is inclusive growth possible under market economy? So underline the key term here. State the significance of financial inclusion in achieving the economic growth in India. Okay. So this is what the question is. The first part of the question, again, two parts are there. Okay, is inclusive growth possible under market economy? Now, you needed to have the understanding of market economy, okay, and also inclusive growth. So what is market economy? Market economy is an economy which works on the principles of market, okay, that is demand and supply. Getting it? So resource allocation in market economy takes place. Resource allocation. This takes place through market. Getting it? So what is to be produced? How much it is to be produced? Who gets to consume that? Okay. How it should be produced? All that questions are answered by market. So that is what you know as market economy. Okay. So in market economy, why this question, this part of the question is relevant here, that in market economy, what is the motive of production? Motive of production क्या होता है इधर? Motive of production in market economy is profit. So things are produced, goods and services are produced by private entrepreneurs, individuals, private individuals to earn profit. Okay, so the maximization of profit is the motive here, okay, behind production. And what is inclusive growth? Inclusive growth has been defined in various ways. Okay, so for example, in most simple terms, you can say that it refers to growth of all. Okay, growth of all. Okay, although there are definite definitions, okay, clear definitions. For example, there is UNDP's definition, United Nations Development Program, that inclusive growth refers to that kind of growth or that kind of process, okay, where every section of society participates in the organization of growth and benefits equally from it. Okay, so every section of society is going to participate. That means it is going to contribute in the production process and is going to benefit from it. Okay, ultimately the essence is that it is going to grow, going to ensure the growth of all. Then there is OECD's definition also. So the benefits of growth should actually reach to all the section of society, and all the section of society should have the opportunity of growth. So that is what OECD, the essence, the meaning of OECD's definition is. Okay, so ultimately the meaning is what? The essence is growth of all. Okay, growth of all. तो आप UNDP के डेफिनेशन में जाएं या OECD के डेफिनेशन में जाएं तो आपको मीनिंग एसेंस जो है उसका डेफिनेशन का वही मिलता है कि इट इज एक्चुअली टॉकिंग अबाउट द ग्रोथ ऑफ ऑल. नाउ व्हाई this question, that is inclusive growth possible under market economy? Generally, you will see that By the common understanding of the market economy, we know that here the motive of production being profit, the individuals who go for investment, for production, for say, for example, for establishing of factories, then they are going to be motivated by this pursuit of profit, maximization of profit. They will invest in those sectors which are going to give them immediate returns, okay, or which are going to increase the chances of returns. And market itself is very efficient in fulfilling the gap that exists between demand and supply. Okay, so actually it is the demand which fuels the economy when it is market economy. Okay, so demand decides everything, and demand is something which is determined by purchasing power. Purchasing power. Now, there might exist a section of society which might not be able to have that kind of purchasing power and thus will not be able to demand the things in the market. So, though that section is something which is it is uh, it is uh, it is doubtful that market economy will be able to cater to that section also. Okay, so this is what that is why there is always a doubt whether the market economy or this model is going to take care of the growth of all section of society or not. Is it going to create opportunities, economic opportunities for all section of society or not? Is it going to ensure that all section of society participate in the organization of growth and are getting benefited equally from that or not? Okay, so that is why there is a doubt. Now, market economy being driven by this motive of profit is going to motivate individuals to invest in more profitable sectors, okay, and is going to take care of the demand of that section which has the purchasing power. But because there can be existence of a section of society which lacks the purchasing power, but it still might require some things, okay, those things which are necessary for survival. So is market economy going to take care of that also? It has been seen that market fails to deliver on that front. Okay, so market fails to ensure the gap that exists between need and supply. Okay, so that is something that you already know. So there you needed to establish a connection. Okay, but is it possible to have large scale economic development without resorting to some or the other kind of market economic? No. Globally, it has been seen that this system fuels efficiency, and through efficiency, we come to have economic growth. Okay, and that economic growth actually enables the government, the very apparatus of administration, that it goes for various welfare schemes, okay, and ensuring that every section of society becomes capable of contributing in the organization of growth and then finally getting benefited from it. Okay, so yes, if you talk about Nithyayogs strategy, okay, Nithyayogs strategy on inclusive growth. So what Niti Ayog has strategized about Niti Ayog, how to secure inclusive growth, then the first component, the first point in that strategy is rapid economic growth. Okay. Rapid economic growth. Then balanced development. Balanced development would mean urban poor, taking care of urban poor, slum dwellers. Okay. Then it also includes better ambulatory services. Okay, that means better health infrastructure. Okay, more accessible health infrastructure. Then it also includes inclusive education. Okay, education, both primary and higher. So school education and higher education both needs to be inclusive. So this is the strategy document of Niti Ayog on inclusive growth. So this is how inclusive growth is to be achieved. Now focus on the first point, rapid economic growth. And here the question is, inclusive growth possible in a market economy. Understand, market economy brings efficiency. Okay, market economy brings efficiency. And through this efficiency, competition, innovation, what you get? You get higher economic growth. Getting it? So growth economists focus on increasing the size of the cake, and they believe that ultimately growth itself is going to take care of poverty, unemployment, etc. Okay, that is something that you know as trickle down hypothesis. Trickle down hypothesis. So yes, this has been globally witnessed. Okay, but to ensure that market economy efficiently delivers inclusive growth also, everything cannot be left to the market. What is required is proper governmental regulation which is going to take care of some vices of market economy. And what are those vices? Generally, system tends to acquire the tendency of cronyism. Okay, so there sometimes crony capitalism develops. Sometimes you see the concentration of wealth in few hands. If government is able to take care of all those things through proper regulation, then yes, because economic growth is something which is going to be incentivized, okay, is something which becomes easier to attain through market economy, then that economic growth can itself be utilized for delivering inclusive growth, for securing inclusive growth. Okay, because without growth, government will not be having anything to help the disadvantaged section. Understand? So yes, it is possible, but that will require proper governmental regulation whereby private sector is given free hand, which is going to fuel efficiency, competition, innovation. At the same time, government is going to ensure that concentration of wealth does not take place in few hands. Okay, concentration of wealth does not take place in few hands. At the same time, the Niti Ayog's strategy document also focuses on balanced development, emphasizes on better ambulatory, that is health services, education, then training, vocational training, okay, skill development, all that becomes very much necessary. Okay, so that is something which is to be ensured, to ensure क्या, to finally secure inclusive growth. क्योंकि inclusive growth को आपको बहुत broadly यहाँ define करना है, और that broad definition you come to have when you see UNDP's definition. So ultimately, in order to secure inclusive growth, what you have to do, you have to ensure that every section of society is capable of participating in the production process. Okay, so for that, what is required? One should be employable. Yes. So capability to participate in the production process requires you to become employable. And how you can become employable? You will be employable when you have good health status, good educational status, vocational training. Okay, so you are skilled, then only you will be employable. At the same time, UNDP's definition goes further by saying that it is a process as well as an outcome which ensures that every section of society participate in the organization of growth and benefits equally from it. So when people are healthy, when people are educated, when people are skilled, they are going to participate in the organization of growth, and they will be able to derive benefits from increased economic growth also. Okay, so this is how this can be done under market economy. Okay, so why this is a question, that is something that you explained, that because in market economy the production is driven by this motive of maximization of profit, and production is done for maximization of profit, and that is why it casts a doubt whether it is going to take care of the disadvantaged section or not. Okay, so whether it is going to channelize or help in channelization of resources which are less profitable or not. Okay, So that is why there was a question. Now, the second part of the question. State the significance of financial inclusion in achieving economic growth in India. Okay, again, very simple question. You just needed to correlate all the components of financial inclusion and then show with growth, and then show that how they are going to result in growth. Okay, so yes, briefly, what is financial inclusion? By general classroom understanding, you know that it means making the financial products available to every section of society at affordable cost. At affordable cost. So this is what you know as financial inclusion. Then what are the components here? What are those financial products? You can include bank account. You can include credit, insurance, investment options. Yes. So these are the financial products broadly. So if these things are made available to every section of society, to all at affordable cost, then definitely this will lead to what? This will lead to promotion of savings. Yes, savings. Now, when savings will be there, they can be mobilized for economic growth, for investment. Okay, so you know the stages of capital formation, and then the third stage of capital formation is investment only. Okay, so savings lead to capital formation. You also know that one of the objective of nationalization of banks was large scale mobilization of savings, domestic savings. So if one has bank account, then his money will be in safe hands. Okay, that savings that he is able to manage in bank account will be utilized for investment. At economic level, the domestic savings will be utilized for investment, leading to capital formation, that is increase in stock of factories and tools. So that is going to increase the productivity and thus economic growth. Availability of credit, again, very much required for investment by the intermediaries. I'm talking about banks here. Okay, so credit, availability of credit. Now, it is also going to ensure that people who do not have access to credit from the institutional sources or access to institutional credit are exploited by money lenders. Okay, so and that exploitation leads to various kinds of problems. Okay, so if I'm having access to institutional credit, then it will be more cost effective, and I can utilize that credit for any kind of entrepreneurial venture that I'm trying to have. Okay, so that is going to facilitate the whole process. Yes, with insurance, what will happen? Insurance is also a financial product. Better future prospects, the security, that means better human resource, health, education, everything, and that itself is going to promote economic growth, because better human resource would mean better economic growth. Okay, better investment options will channelize the money, the savings, in more productive sectors of the economy. More productive sectors of the economy. Okay, and thus ultimately it is going to promote economic growth only. Okay, so here you could have talked about how this is being promoted. Okay, so you can talk about JAM, Trinity, then you can talk about DBT also. Okay, because through bank account this has become possible. Okay, then you can talk about UPI, mobile banking. Getting it? So this is how you could have approached this question. So again, this was easy question. This year I have found that the questions were rather easy. Okay, so many of the questions were direct. Only one or two questions you can say that they were indirect or somewhat difficult to answer because they were not direct, although not completely difficult to answer. Okay, urban bias also. Okay, initially there has been bias towards plain areas also. In hilly areas you do not find, you do not have properly functioning PDS, although to a good extent that has been secured now. Okay, now so these are the, then there are issues of procurement and distribution in general. Okay, so issues in procurement and distribution. So you already know about the issues of overstocking, okay, rotting of grains and all that. So because of the lack of warehouses and cold storages, so that is the problem which is already there. That is issues with FCI, Food Corporation of India. So okay, so there are issues with its proper functioning of FCI, mainly infrastructural issues. Okay. Leakage would account what there have been leakages. It refers to corruption and also channelization of grains to market. Okay, तो ये corruption की वजह से है. So these are the issues, general issues. Now, how it can be made more effective? So here again, Vadha Committee, which was constituted to assess, which highlighted many of the issues that I have written here, also gave certain recommendations that how to deal with it. Okay, so for example, it talked about use of technology. Okay, technology. Um, and here technology would mean digitization. Okay, then end-to-end computerization. Okay, then doorstep delivery. Then, for example, Santa Kumar Committee. It recommended that there should be direct procurement from farmers. Okay, and also you can say involving private sector. Involving private sector in procurement and distribution, procurement, transport and distribution. Okay. Other than that, you can also see that there are states which are doing very good. So for example, you can take the example of say Chhattisgarh. Okay, so here Jan Bhagidari portal actually ensures that uh, people also are involved in better functioning of PDS. Okay, so it has done, for example, it has adopted various practices. It has a specific color vehicles which are there for distribution of food grains under PDS. And if there is channelization of that food to market, then that will be easily identified because one can easily identify the vehicles which are there for PDS. Okay, so they are of specific colors, in yellow color precisely. Okay, then it has also talked, you can also talk about Tamil Nadu model, again, and a state which is doing very good. Okay, has ensured proper weighing, electronic weighing has been introduced. Okay, तो यहाँ पास कम तोला जाए ऐसा कुछ कोई इशू नहीं होगा. Also it has gone for universal PDS. Okay, so 100% coverage. Okay, because one of the issue has been what? in challenges, one of the issue has been inclusion and exclusion error. Okay, because of the ghost card leakages वगैरह के सब वजह से, तो इंक्लूजन एंड एक्सक्लूजन एरर को डील करने का एक अच्छा तरीका है कि 100% को कर दो 100%. Now those who have money, they will be having better choices, better alternatives in the market, so they will not come to PDS. So through 100%, to ensuring that 100% people are the beneficiaries, they have been able to resolve at least what? Exclusion error. Okay, so the exclusion error is se khatam ho jati hai. Chhattisgarh is also uh, talking about extending it to 75% of the population. Okay, so in a way, that is again kind of universal PDS only. Okay, so this is how you can go on making the PDS more effective, making the whole exercise most effective and transparent. Okay, so digitization, use of technology is something which is going to play a very important role here. Okay. Okay, next is again very direct question, that elaborate the scope and significance of food processing industry in India. Okay, so generally you don't get a direct question, such direct questions in UPSC exam, लेकिन कभी कभी वो किसी किसी ईयर में कुछ थोड़ा आसान पूछता है. This year the questions, even in other GS papers also, you might have seen the questions are very direct. Okay, so scope and significance of processing, food processing industry. So you could have introduced your answer by introducing what you mean by food processing. Okay, so what is food processing? ये क्या होता है? It refers to a process. Okay, तो इस प्रोसेस के थ्रू क्या किया जाता है? Processing, or you can say value addition of agricultural commodities. और ये किस तरह की प्रोसेसिंग होती है, किस तरह का वैल्यू एडिशन होता है? So that those commodities become marketable products. Okay, marketable products, or it increases their shelf life. Okay, optimum utilization. Okay, better consumptive uses. तो इसको कहते हैं फूड प्रोसेसिंग. ओके, और फूड प्रोसेसिंग इंडस्ट्री किसका एग्जांपल हो सकता है? वन very simple example is making breads out of flour. Okay, so making ketchup, you can say making pickles, but now at present time this has acquired much wider dimensions, and almost everything that was eaten raw is being processed now. So you have food processing industries in milk, okay, and seafood and many other marine resources. Yeah, and it has covered everything now, which is to be consumed. Okay, so everything which is consumed has been covered by food processing industry. So it is not restricted to making juices or flour or pickles only now. Okay, so now this is a big industry. So globally, this is a big industry. Okay, if you talk about the significance here, so highly significant, and various reasons are there for that. Okay. significance में आप क्या लिख सकते हो कि how it contributes to economy. For example, if you talk about its economic significance, okay, mainly the significance is economic only because the paper you're dealing with is economy. It is contributing around 1.1% in gross value addition. Okay, gross value addition around 12% in export. Okay, 12% in export. Sometimes in good times it goes to 15% also. Okay, 12 to 12.1% of total manufacturing is in food processing sector. Okay, and it is highly labor intensive. Highly labor intensive. So this is again very good for employment. So employment generation. Okay, employment generation. Okay, it actually gives employment to almost 70 lakh, more than 70 lakh people directly, and more than 4 crore people indirectly. So this is the scale of employment generation in food processing sector. Not only that, capital per worker which is required here. Capital per worker, for example, how much capital is needed for creating one job that is least, okay, in food processing industry. So we talk about leather and textile being the very labor intensive sectors in manufacturing, but here in comparison to textile also, uh, the capital per worker requirement is lower in food processing industry. So it is around 7.5 lakh per job. So that means with this much of money, there will be creation of one job. Okay, it is 8 lakh for textiles. Okay, 8 lakh for textiles, and it is 14 lakh for industry in general. Okay, so there you see that employment generation, highly significant industry, because this much of employment is coming directly, indirectly from more than 5 crore people are getting employment. Okay, 5 to 6 crore people are getting employment from directly, indirectly from this food processing industry, and it is easier. So in terms of capital, it is easier, more efficient in terms of generation of employment. So capital requirement per worker is also lowest. Okay, so that shows that how significant it is. Then other than that, you can also talk about other things. For example, it reduces wastage. Okay, wastage of food products, because that is quite high in India. Okay, when it comes to perishable items, food processing industries can reduce wastage. Okay, then it provides linkage between agriculture and industry. Okay, so that is very beneficial for agriculture sector, for primary sector. Okay, so for primary sector it is very beneficial. A linkage will ensure what, that both sectors get benefit from it. Okay, and ultimately economy. Okay, it provides linkage there. Now also understand then, when it is about food processing industry, then it is also going to take care of another problem in agriculture, which is soil fertility. Okay, so with cropping pattern, generally it has been seen that some farmers found a certain crop to be more commercially viable, profitable, and they go on producing and doing agriculture in that particular crop only. Food processing industry will ensure what? Crop diversification. Okay, crop diversification, because if this sector is promoted and better linkages are developed between agriculture and food processing industry, then farmers will be motivated to produce more horticultural crops. Okay, and that will lead to crop diversification, will be taking care of soil health issues. Okay, soil health, फर्टिलिटी ऑफ द सॉइल विल बी मेंटेन्ड। तो ये आप एनवायरनमेंट में पढ़ते हैं कि कैसे क्रॉप डाइवर्सिफिकेशन इसको इंश्योर करता है। ओके, so this is how you could have shown the significance of the industry. At the same time, you must remember that food processing industry is also called sunrise industry in India. Okay, globally also sunrise industry. So why it is called sunrise industry? Because of huge potential of growth. Huge potential of growth. तो ग्रोथ की बहुत ज़्यादा पोटेंशियल है। ओके, ग्लोबली ये देखा गया है। और यहाँ क्वेश्चन क्या है? इलाबोरेट ऑन द स्कोप। सो इट इज अ सनराइज इंडस्ट्री मीन्स huge potential is there for growth and that is why huge scope. So huge scope कैसे है ये दिखाना है इंडिया में। Okay, so generally it is a sunrise industry. What makes the scope of food processing industry in India high? So what you can cite here, so for example, the very fact that India has many, or you can say various, agroclimatic zones. Okay, agroclimatic zones, and that ensures what? That ensures the availability of raw material, diverse raw material. ये बहुत तरह के एग्रोक्लाइमेटिक जोन है, तो बहुत तरह के हमारे यहाँ हॉर्टिकल्चर क्रॉप्स पॉसिबल हैं। ओके, तो हमारे यहाँ ट्रॉपिकल, मेडिटेरेनियन, टेम्परेट, हर तरह के क्रॉप्स यहाँ पास मिलते हैं। तो ये ब्रॉडली अगर आप क्लाइमेटिक जोन्स की बात करें तो इंडिया में बहुत सारे क्लाइमेटिक जोन्स होने की वजह से डाइवर्स रॉ मटेरियल है जो फूड प्रोसेसिंग इंडस्ट्री में। आप फ्रूट्स को ले लें, वेजिटेबल्स को ले लें, सो ऑल दैट इज वेरी डाइवर्स हियर। ओके, एंड देन you can say that because of governmental support which is being given here, तो गवर्नमेंट सपोर्ट बहुत ज़्यादा है। ओके, क्योंकि एक्सपोर्ट के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट सेक्टर, हमने उसके सिग्निफिकेंस में देखा। ओके, एंड गवर्नमेंट इज सपोर्टिंग दिस सेक्टर बिकॉज दिस इज वेरी प्रॉमिसिंग फॉर प्राइमरी सेक्टर, फॉर एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर। और एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर को हम बूस्ट करेंगे जहाँ पास मेजॉरिटी ऑफ लेबर फोर्स इन्वॉल्व है। ओके, तो वो क्या होगा? दैट विल बी that will cause a spillover effect to other sectors also. As Rangarajan committee once suggested that 1% increase in primary sector is going to lead to automatic increase of 0.8% in industry and 0.5% approx in services. Okay, तो प्राइमरी सेक्टर में ग्रोथ क्या करती है? मल्टीप्लायर इफेक्ट रखती है इकोनॉमी में। ओके, गवर्नमेंट सपोर्ट है। देन डिमांड भी इसकी बहुत ज़्यादा है। और डिमांड का कारण क्या है? डिमांड के कारण बहुत सारे हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल, चेंज इन लाइफ स्टाइल। ओके, लाइफ स्टाइल चेंजेस हैं, जहाँ पास प्रोसेस्ड फूड को रेडली अवेलेबल है तो वो ज़्यादा कंज्यूम किया जाता है। देन फॉर न्यूक्लियर फैमिलीज हैं जहाँ पास बोथ पेरेंट्स वर्किंग है, तो क्या होगा? दे ऑल्सो प्रेफर प्रोसेस्ड फूड इंस्टेड ऑफ कुकिंग इट। ओके, तो इसकी वजह से क्या है? लाइफ स्टाइल चेंजेस। देन प्रोसेस्ड फूड इज कॉस्टली ऑल्सो, एंड ऑफ लेट यू हैव ऑल्सो सीन इंक्रीज इन इनकम। Okay, increase in income of people, so that enables them to buy the processed food. Okay, तो scope यहाँ पास because of these factors is very high. Okay, here you could have talked about Pradhan Mantri PM Kisan Sampada Yojana, okay, which has subsumed mega food park schemes, okay, which runs on hub and spoke model. Okay, mega food park scheme, Kisan Sampada Yojana, कैसे उसके द्वारा एफर्ट लिए जा रहे हैं इसको प्रमोट करने में। ओके, तो बहुत important significant governmental efforts हैं जिनको adopt किया गया है यहाँ पास. Okay, so again very easy question. Next question from the economy is, okay, question number 11. And just read this question. This is one very good question that UPSC has asked this time, that economic growth in recent past, not talking about last year, in recent past, okay, so it will go to decades also. Recent past has been led by increase in labor productivity. Increase in labor productivity. Explain this statement. Explain this statement. Suggest the growth pattern that will lead to creation of more jobs without compromising labor productivity. Okay, so suggest the message. This is a big question, very good question, and it demands the understanding of firstly the concept, then what is going on, what drives the economic growth, what has driven, what has led to the economic growth in recent past. Okay, and it is not a simple question which is asking just about enumeration of that model of growth which is going to generate more jobs, because you have to take care of labor productivity also. Okay, labor productivity. Okay, so just read the statement again. Economic growth in recent part has been led by increase in labor productivity. Explain this statement. Okay, the statement कह रहा है कि in recent past, whatever economic growth has been witnessed, that has been because of labor productivity. Okay, so here you needed to explain first what is labor productivity. Okay, labor productivity simply means output, or you can say value added per labor hour. Okay, per labor hour. So this is what you know as labor productivity. Okay, now in recent past, if you go and analyze the data of labor productivity, this is recent past, और ये contemporary issues पे question है, ये current affairs का question नहीं है, because if you go by the current affairs alone, then there have been reports just before the pandemic that there was decrease in labor productivity. Okay, manufacturing sector में labor productivity कम हुई है. So what made the news recently in 1 or 2 years current affairs, that was decrease in labor productivity. But the question is that in recent past there has been economic growth which has been led by labor productivity. Okay, so led by increase in labor productivity. So the recent past that question is talking about is actually the past after 2007-8 global financial crisis. Okay, so global financial crisis हुआ यहाँ पास, और इसके पहले अगर आप देखें, so talking about the period after 1992-93, okay, because after 1 or 2 years of LPG reforms, so we started witnessing the positives of the first generation reforms. And then talking to the period, taking it to 2015-16, because 2016 year is important. Demonetization हुआ था, उसके बाद बहुत सारी economic crisis आई. Okay, and within 3 years we have this pandemic, 3 or 4 years. 2016 में आपने देखा कि demonetization था, उसके बाद 2017 में GST, okay, 18 में ILFS crisis जो NBFCs ने crisis face की, okay, 19 के last में चीज़ें थोड़ा सा सुधरी क्योंकि we were able to solve the liquidity crunch in the NBFCs, and then in 2020 we had this pandemic. So by considering, analyzing the normal years that we had in recent past, we have this breakup. Okay, so this period and this period. So according to RBI data, labor productivity in this period was 3.9%. Okay, 3.9%. and labor productivity in this period has been 4.5%. Getting it? So clearly there has been increase in labor productivity, and also that led to economic growth. Okay, now if you have understood this link, then understand it further. Increase in labor productivity caused the economic growth. This is RBI's data. Okay, this is RBI's data. Okay, and this happened due to something called capital deepening. Capital deepening. So increase in labor productivity supported economic growth, encouraged economic growth due to capital deepening. Now, what is capital deepening? Understand this. Capital deepening would mean, actually it is increase in capital intensity. इसको फॉलो करिएगा, इसलिए मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि दिस क्वेश्चन वाज गुड बिकॉज दिस रिक्वायर्ड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ इशूज. अब ये अगर आपने सिर्फ और सिर्फ करंट अफेयर्स को फोकस करके किया तो पहली बात तो अगर आपने फॉलो किया होगा लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी की न्यूज़ तो वो नेगेटिव में गई है, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग की लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी स्पेशली. ओके, तो इंक्रीज इन कैपिटल इंटेंसिटी. एंड व्हाट इज कैपिटल इंटेंसिटी? व्हाट दैट मीन? समझो इस चीज़ को. कैपिटल इंटेंसिटी वुड मीन कैपिटल labor ratio. Okay, capital labor ratio may increase. Okay, capital labor ratio. Capital labor ratio मतलब capital by labor. Increase in capital deepening and increase in capital intensity will be shown as increase in capital labor ratio. That means increase in this ratio. Now increase in this ratio would mean what? Either increase in capital or decrease in labor. Yes, either increase in capital or decrease in labor. In recent times, I'm talking about 2007-8 to 2015-16, okay, और वो चीज़ थोड़ा सा 16 के बाद भी कंटिन्यू हुई है. हम उस चीज़ को बहुत ज़्यादा मेजर इसलिए नहीं कर रहे हैं क्योंकि जो स्टडीज़ हैं वो उस पीरियड को एबनॉर्मल कंसीडर करती हैं, और एबनॉर्मल पीरियड्स की स्टडी से नॉर्मल पीरियड्स की स्टडी अफेक्ट होती है, इसलिए उसको सेपरेट रखा जाता है. ओके, बिकॉज ऑफ डिमोनेटाइजेशन, देन जीएसटी, एंड देन IL&FS crisis, and then pandemic. Okay, so increase in capital labor ratio, that means what? Either increase in capital or decrease in labor. In recent past, this increase in capital labor ratio has not come because of decrease in labor, but because of increase in capital stock. Increase in capital stock. So increase in capital intensity, that means increase in capital labor ratio in recent past has come because of increase in capital stock. Here capital actually means capital stock. Capital stock. Okay, and capital stock आप समझते हैं? Factories, machineries, tools. So increase in capital stock would mean what? Increase in productive capacity of the economy. So increase in productive capacity of the economy. Increase in productive capacity of economy. And increase in productive capacity of the economy would do what? It is going to increase economic growth. Yes or no? तो ये चीज तो हुई है. ओके, तो आपको एक्सप्लेन करना था स्टेटमेंट को. सो दिस इज हाउ यू हैव टू एक्सप्लेन. अब यहाँ पास कैपिटल वर्ड के अलावा और कोई डिफिकल्ट वर्ड नहीं है, और कैपिटल वर्ड आप इकॉनमी के स्टूडेंट के लिए डिफिकल्ट नहीं है. कैपिटल मतलब कैपिटल स्टॉक से मतलब है यहाँ पास इसका. और आप जानते हैं बाय द कॉमन अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट यू डेवलप इन क्लास दैट इंक्रीज इन कैपिटल स्टॉक इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज the productivity, and increase in productivity is going to cause economic growth. Okay, now standard theory of economic growth considers, although this much theory is not needed, आपने एक्चुअली एक्सप्लेन कर दिया है, लेकिन जस्ट फॉर योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग, तो जो स्टैंडर्ड थ्योरी ऑफ इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ है, उसके अकॉर्डिंग कैपिटल और लेबर, दिस वाज अ रियली गुड क्वेश्चन। ओके, उसके अकॉर्डिंग कैपिटल एंड लेबर क्या है? दिस इज कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री, this is complementary. So increase in capital is going to benefit the business, yes, is going to benefit the business because of increase in productivity, and increase in productivity is going to make the business more profitable, that is why helping the business is also going to help labor, because labor is going to become more valuable now, it is going to become more valuable. Okay, so standard theory of economic growth, it suggests that both go in tandem. So they are not they are not contradictory. So development in one is not going to create problems in other. Okay, so that is why you see that increase in capital stock is going to help the labor also. It is going to be beneficial for the labor also. Okay, but generally understand what is happening here. In order to cite another example of economic growth being led by labor productivity, you can cite another report, India Ratings Report. Okay, India Ratings Report. इसने क्या दिखाया कि from the financial year 01, talking about this century, to 10, okay, globally, not talking about India alone, globally, economic growth has been led by labor productivity. So globally, 2/3 of economic growth वो किससे ड्राइव हुई है? वो लेबर की प्रोडक्टिविटी इंक्रीज होने से ड्राइव हुई है। सिंपल टर्म्स में क्या होगा कि कम लेबर से ज़्यादा प्रोडक्टिविटी, कम लेबर से ज़्यादा प्रोडक्टिविटी, उसी को बोलते हैं लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी। ओके, तो ग्रोथ के लिए तो ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी, 2/3 of economic growth globally has come from increase in labor productivity, and rest of 1/3 has come from labor employment, मतलब एम्प्लॉयमेंट के बढ़ने से। ओके, सो उसका मतलब होगा कि 2/3 of growth globally has come from increase in labor productivity, and 1/3 of economic growth globally has come from increase in labor employment, increase in employment simply. Okay, so there you see that increase in labor productivity is definitely going to cause economic growth, and that has been the global trend also. So firstly, we saw in case of India through data that has been there. Secondly, another report also cites that this is not just about India, this is about world. This is about globe at large, that it is labor productivity which is actually has been the driver of economic growth, okay, and not employment. So by the common understanding of labor productivity, you developed what? You developed the understanding that labor productivity, increase in labor productivity, is going to cause economic growth. But because less labor is required for more output now, because of increase in productivity, it may compromise with inclusive growth. Inclusive growth, precisely because now whatever level of productivity you need, you are able to have it with less number of laborers, and that is why that is going to cause decrease in employment. Okay, so a contradiction exists here, not actually contradiction, you can say a dilemma exists there, that in order to increase the economic growth, you need to increase labor productivity, okay, because that has been the general trend, and because that is a more efficient way of increasing the economic growth. But along with that, what you have is less employment opportunities, and less employment opportunities would mean what? Compromise with inclusive growth. Okay, so this has been Observe, this has been highlighted, but this is something which is not going to be true for all time to come. So this may be true for one particular year से. Okay, ये किसी एक साल के लिए important हो सकता है. So this may be true for one particular year, because generally the sectors in the economy are interlinked. Okay, so with better labor productivity, there will be new economic opportunities. Okay, new economic opportunities. Then new job creation. New job creation will be happening because of labor productivity. Okay, because the development in one sector is going to have a positive effect on the other sector. So when you talk about any particular year or 3 or 4 years, मीन्स मीडियम टू लॉन्ग टर्म जो हम बात करते हैं 3 to 5 years, उसमें ये चीज़ देख सकते हैं. लेकिन वेरी लॉन्ग टर्म में आप देखेंगे इकोनॉमी को, तो लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी क्या करेगी, वो इकोनॉमी एज अ होल को बेनिफिट करती है. ओके, लेकिन शॉर्ट टर्म में किन चीज़ों के बीच में आपने कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन देखा? शॉर्ट टर्म में आपने कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन देखा लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी की एंड एम्प्लॉयमेंट. और अब क्वेश्चन देखिए सेकंड पार्ट का. सी how beautifully the question has been framed. Okay, so suggest the growth pattern that will lead to creation of more jobs without compromising labor productivity. है ना? तो एक्चुअली क्वेश्चन ने एक लिंक मिस की, और वो मिस करने का पर्पस ये था कि आप उसे एक्सप्लेन करें, और फिर जो मैंने आपको समझाया उसने उसको सेकंड पार्ट में रख दिया. Suggest the growth pattern that will lead to creation of more jobs without compromising labor productivity. Okay, एक्चुअली यही क्वेश्चन ही है जो ढंग का है, जो लेवल का है, बाकी सब डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन थे. तो लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी और एम्प्लॉयमेंट, हमें ऐसा ग्रोथ पैटर्न सजेस्ट करना है which is going to generate employment, because that is required for inclusive growth. Okay, हमें jobless growth नहीं चाहिए. India has been witnessing jobless growth also because of low employment elasticity. Okay, so that is also something that you cover in regular class. Okay, तो जो employment elasticity है GDP growth की वो क्या थी, वो लो रही है इंडिया में आफ्टर 1991. ओके, तो और आफ्टर 1991 भी वो मार्जिनली इंक्रीज की है, बिकॉज जनरल ट्रेंड कह रहा है देयर हैज बीन जॉबलेस ग्रोथ. So that kind of growth pattern you have to suggest, that kind of model you have to suggest, which is going to lead to employment generation without compromise with labor productivity, without compromising labor productivity. Okay, क्योंकि dilemma तो यही है कि labor productivity को भी बढ़ाना है. अब मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर में लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी क्या है, बहुत कम है. ओके, अगर आप इंडिया की लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी और चाइना की लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी कंपेयर करें, तो इंडिया की लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी है इज अराउंड 6164 के करीब, ऐसा कुछ, और 6200 or 62 to 6500 dollar. Okay, so this is the figure. And in case of China, it is $17,000 approx. Okay, so $6,200 है इसका, to be precise is 6164 last time when I checked it. Okay, and it is precisely $16,998. तो मैंने approx figure दिया था आपको 17,000. Okay, तो क्या है, more than double, almost 2.5 times. तो ये तो हमने जो देखा वो राइज इन लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी, लेकिन अगर कंपेयर करें आप तो स्टिल इट इज वेरी लो, दैट मीन्स व्हाट, लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी को हमें बढ़ाना ही है आगे. ओके, तो एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन क्या होगा, एक चैलेंज होगा. तो अब ऐसा मॉडल सजेस्ट करना है जो लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी को कंप्रोमाइज किए बिना एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन करे. ओके, तो जनरली इसको ये बहुत टफ नहीं है. ओके, इसमें आप बात करेंगे सिंपली एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन की बस इस चीज़ का ध्यान रखते हुए कि मॉडल गवर्नमेंट के इन्वेस्टमेंट का ऐसा हो जो फंड को प्रोडक्टिव सेक्टर्स में चैनलाइज करे, जिससे कुछ प्रोडक्शन हो। ओके, और वो कैसे होगा? सो फॉर एग्जांपल इफ आई टॉक अबाउट गवर्नमेंट्स इन्वेस्टमेंट, सो इट कैन बी, और यू कैन से सिंपली एक्सपेंडिचर में बात करूं, so it can be in form of loan waiver also. Okay, it can be in form of allowance also. Okay, so that is not going to make that is not going to increase the productivity, but what is required is this should be in more productive sectors. Okay, creation of infrastructure is one such thing whereby its expenditure is wanted. So infrastructure creation, because this in itself is an asset and has cascading effect or positive spillover effect. So पहली बात ये खुद में जॉब क्रिएशन है करता है, और दूसरी बात ये पूरी इकोनॉमी में इसका पॉजिटिव स्पिल ओवर इफेक्ट होता है. ओके, देन प्रमोशन ऑफ MSMEs. प्रमोशन ऑफ MSMEs ये कैसे? MSMEs का प्रमोशन क्यों? क्योंकि स्ट्रॉन्ग एविडेंस हैं जो सजेस्ट करते हैं कि इट इज द स्मॉल फॉर्म्स विच एक्चुअली लीड टू जॉब क्रिएशन. मोर देन 300 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स की स्टडी में ये देखा गया कि स्मॉल फॉर्म्स हैं जो जॉब क्रिएशन ज़्यादा करते हैं. ओके, ज़्यादा करते हैं. अच्छा, फिर आप ये भी देखें कि यू हैव टू प्रमोट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, and which are the promising areas whereby you can also incentivize the reallocation of labor force from agriculture to higher sectors. Okay, keeping in mind that they are not going to be skilled immediately, so we are trying to have the skilled labor force, but if we want to have a large scale mobilization from primary to higher sectors, then we need to create those jobs in those sectors which are not very which does not require very high skilled labor force. So what are these sectors? These sectors are leather, textile, footwear, gems and jewelry. Okay, now other than this you can also talk about, you have also seen that when it was about economic growth, then two factors have been very responsible for that. First is reallocation of labor from primary to manufacturing and service sector. Okay, especially trade and construction. और तो कहीं ज़्यादा नहीं, लेकिन यहाँ पास ज़्यादा relocation हुआ है. Okay, and this has also been one of the drivers of economic growth. So this needs to be further encouraged. Okay, हो सकता है कि हम चाहें कि कंस्ट्रक्शन में ना जाके और कहीं जाएं, क्योंकि यहाँ का TFP बहुत लो होता है. ओके, बट इतना डीप जाने की जरूरत नहीं. ओके, now other than that you can also talk about that those industries which have adopted ICT. So industries which adopted ICT, information communication technology, they have been the key drivers. of growth. Okay, key drivers of growth. और industries अपने आप में क्या है? They will are going to cause reallocation also, which is further going to increase economic growth. Okay, and definitely employment generation. Okay, so industries which have adopted ICT are the key drivers of growth, and they further need to get promoted, need to be promoted. Okay, another very important thing, and this is very important. See, um, when you compare the country like India with USA and China, okay, so you find that when it comes to mega cities, then now developing countries have started catching developed countries. Okay, so India also mega cities are doing good. Okay, and but when it comes to small cities, I'm talking about tier 2 and 3 cities, then there is large infrastructural gap that exists between cities, tier 2, tier 3 cities in India and USA and China. So they are doing very good in terms of infrastructure. Okay, infrastructure in small cities. Okay, mega cities में हमने भी किया है. Okay, but always remember that there is one very visible trend that is there in case of India. In India, urbanization or employment generation. ये 90s के decade में, 1990s में, they have been in tandem. So they have been there simultaneously. For example, urbanization आपने जहाँ देखा वहाँ पास employment generation भी देखा. Okay, 1990s में ये चीज़ देखने में आई. But in last decade, जो last decade I'm talking about just a decade after 1990s, and the trend is visible in the last decade also. So I'm talking about 2001 onwards. So you can see in last 2 decades there has been a shift in this very pattern. So what has been seen, that because of high cost of maintaining businesses, high cost of running businesses in mega cities, entrepreneurships are shifting towards tier 2 and tier 3 cities for so that they could remain competitive. Okay, and there you don't have infrastructure. So the infrastructure development in tier 2, tier 3 cities, that is something which is not happening. That has been there, that has been achieved in case of China. So US is already a developed country. China has been able to do that. Okay, and that is also one reason. Understand that, see, you have also to keep in mind that at present time India is at an advantageous position because of 2 reasons. First, because of saving glut. वो कहाँ दिख रहा है? डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज में. हाँ, सॉरी, डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज में. ओके, और इन्वेस्टमेंट डर्थ, ये कहाँ दिख रहा है? डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज में. And because of this phenomena which is visible globally, India is at advantageous position. Okay, but where we lag, where we lag precisely is infrastructural development in tier 2, tier 3 cities. तो ये चीज़ हमें अभी करनी, हमें इंश्योर करनी है ताकि हम उस इन्वेस्टमेंट को भी अपनी तरफ खींच पाएँ. ओके, दैट इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ एज वेल एज लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी. क्यों? क्योंकि ये जो मॉडल है, जिस तरह जो हम अट्रैक्ट करेंगे बाय डेवलपिंग द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, is a very efficient model. So here the productivity is always high. Getting it? फिर इसके बाद आप बात कर सकते हैं. Other than that, you can also talk about the very strategy document of Nithyayogs. ओके, तो इन्होंने क्या बोला, नीति आयोग का एक स्टडी है, उसने पाया कि देयर इज अ लिंक बिटवीन स्किल डेवलपमेंट, प्रोडक्टिविटी, labor productivity only, and entrepreneurship. ठीक है, entrepreneurship. देखिए है क्या कि इंडिया में 70% ऑफ लेबर फोर्स ये कहाँ है, ये रूरल एरिया में है. ओके, और बहुत फंडामेंटल वे में मेजॉरिटी ऑफ दैट इज देयर इन एग्रीकल्चर. सो मेजॉरिटी ऑफ दैट इज आइदर facing having this disguised unemployment or underemployment. ओके, तो इसको प्रोडक्टिव बनाने के लिए क्या जरूरी है, इसको स्किल करना जरूरी है. ओके, क्योंकि स्किलिंग से क्या होता है, एक स्किल्ड वर्कफोर्स या स्किलिंग कैसे, स्किल डेवलपमेंट कैसे यूजफुल है. और यही आपका आंसर भी है यहाँ पास, other than the factors that we have already discussed, that it is going to increase employability for फॉर्मल सेक्टर, क्योंकि फॉर्मल सेक्टर में जॉब तब मिलेंगे जब स्किल्ड होंगे. ओके, मोस्टली मैं बात कर रहा हूं. एंड इट इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज प्रोडक्टिविटी इन इनफॉर्मल सेक्टर. तो स्किल्ड होगा तो प्रोडक्टिविटी ज्यादा होगी और एम्प्लॉयमेंट तो होगा ही. ओके, तो इसके तहत यहाँ पास स्ट्रैटेजी ये है नीति आयोग की, क्या करना चाहिए, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप को डेवलप करना चाहिए, इसको प्रमोट करने की जरूरत है. ओके, सो एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप को प्रमोट करने के लिए एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप हब्स एस्टैब्लिश करना. ओके, कल्चर शिफ्ट को प्रमोट करना. कल्चर शिफ्ट कैसे प्रमोट करना है, मतलब कि एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप लोग अप्रिशिएट करने लग जाएं, ज़्यादा अडॉप्ट करने लग जाएं. ओके, देन पीयर्स का, ओके, मेंटर्स का के साथ, इनक्यूबेटर्स के साथ एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को कनेक्ट करना. तो कनेक्टिंग देम विद पीयर्स, मेंटर्स, इनक्यूबेटर्स. और क्या हो सकता है, इक्विपिंग देम, इक्विपिंग द पोटेंशियल एंटरप्रेन्योर्स. जो पोटेंशियल एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं उनको अर्ली स्टेज में, एट अर्ली स्टेज, ओके, उनको प्रमोट करना, उनकी हेल्प करना. तो इससे क्या होगा, इससे एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप डेवलप होगी. डेफिनेटली दे विल बिकम, द सेम लेबर फोर्स विल बिकम मोर प्रोडक्टिव, एंड दिस कैन बी further supplemented by skill development, which is going to take care of productivity and employment both in formal as well as informal sector. So this is coming from Niti Aayog also. Okay, so this question was really good and multi-dimensional question था और बहुत अच्छे से फ्रेम किया गया था. एक्चुअली यही क्वेश्चन है जो टिपिकल यूपीएससी क्वेश्चन है. ओके, बाकी तो पेपर आपका बहुत आसान था इस साल. Okay, next question is very easy. Okay, so what are the main bottlenecks in upstream and downstream process of marketing of agricultural products in India? तो इसमें एक्चुअली जब इंडस्ट्रीज की बात आती है, फूड प्रोसेसिंग इंडस्ट्री एंड ऑल, सो इट इज़ वेरी इजी टू आइडेंटिफाई द अपस्ट्रीम एंड डाउनस्ट्रीम रिक्वायरमेंट्स और वो जो चैनल्स एग्जिस्ट करते हैं. यहाँ पास आपको उतना डिवीजन क्लियर नहीं मिलता, तो उसको बहुत ज़्यादा क्लासीफाई करने की ज़रूरत भी नहीं थी. So instead of focusing on that, you could have focused more on the general problems that are there, the general bottlenecks that are there in marketing of agriculture products. So यहाँ पास बहुत सारी problems हैं. For example, there is a problem of distress sale, है ना? And that distress sale is because of absence of cold storages, warehouses, okay, financial compulsions. Then after that, because of the unavailability of transportation and all, that also becomes a factor behind distress sale. क्योंकि जब ट्रांसपोर्टेशन की नहीं होगी तो वो जहाँ जाना चाहिए सामान, ओके, आप इसको कह सकते हैं कि अब स्ट्रीम की स्टेज में अप स्ट्रीम की स्टेज में वहाँ पास जहाँ जाना चाहिए सामान, अब सॉरी डाउन स्ट्रीम की स्टेज में जहाँ जाना चाहिए सामान वहाँ नहीं पहुँच रहा है। ओके, सो ट्रांसपोर्टेशन की प्रॉब्लम। देन फार्म गेट सेल, उसी को बोलते हैं कि वो फार्म गेट सेल एक्चुअली डिस्ट्रेस सेल का एग्जाम्पल है। ओके, हालांकि वो चीज़ आपके एपीएमसीज में अलाउ नहीं थी। ओके, उसको बाद में प्रमोट किया जा रहा है फार्म गेट सेल को, लेकिन वहाँ पास प्रमोट इसलिए किया जा रहा है कि इट इज़ it is also facilitating at the same time that farmers will be having options to sell to different producers. Okay, then proper gradation, weights, measurement. Okay, so आप बहुत ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम इसमें डिस्ट्रेस सेल। ओके, वेयर हाउसेस, कोल्ड स्टोरेजेस, ओके, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन, lack of market information, then presence of middlemen, okay, unavailability of credit. तो क्रेडिट नहीं है तो जरूरत क्या है, तो जिस भाव में बिक रहा है सामान उसी भाव में बेच दो। ओके, देन रेगुलेटेड मार्केट्स, जहां पास प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है रियल प्राइस डिस्कवरी। ओके, सो फार्मर्स को क्या मिलता है, ओनली 30 to 35% ऑफ देयर जो फाइनल प्राइस होता है उसका ओनली 30 to 35% ही मिलता है। ओके, फिर प्रोक्योरमेंट में दिक्कत है, सो प्रोक्योरमेंट के इशूज हैं, गारंटीड प्रोक्योरमेंट में भी वो चीज़ें क्लियर नहीं हो रही हैं। absence of national market. Okay, absence of national market, इस चीज को इंश्योर किया जा रहा है ई नाम के थ्रू। ओके, ये सारी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं और जिनको बहुत सारे गवर्नमेंट मेजर्स के थ्रू ट्रीट भी किया गया है, मतलब रिजॉल्व करने की कोशिश की गई है। जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल नाउ दिस इज अ 15 मार्क क्वेश्चन दैट although it is just about bottlenecks, but you will be talking about the governmental measures also, and then what are the lacunas there, what can be done to improve those things. So यही चीज़ है, तो पूरा का पूरा आप समझिए कि एग्रीकल्चर मार्केटिंग का वही जो चैप्टर है उसको पूरा का पूरा आप लिखेंगे। ओके, तो यहाँ पास हाउ व्हाट गवर्नमेंट हैज़ डन, गवर्नमेंट हैज़ सो फॉर एग्जांपल स्टैंडर्ड्स वेट्स एंड मेजरमेंट के लिए उसने एक्ट पास किया। ओके, फिर मार्केटिंग के लिए नैफेड बनाया, ट्राइफेड बनाया। ओके, देन ई नाम क्रिएट किया फॉर बेटर प्राइस डिस्कवरी। Then after that you can also talk about foreign market commissions also in agriculture commodities, जो क्या कर रहा है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट फार्मिंग, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स एंड जो है फ्यूचर्स और फॉरवर्ड्स, जो है फ्यूचर्स एंड फॉरवर्ड्स, डेरिवेटिव, वो क्या है एग्रीकल्चर कमोडिटीज में भी इंट्रोड्यूस किए। ओके, तो इसका बेनिफिट क्या होगा, इसका बेनिफिट फार्मर्स को होता है बिकॉज दे आर एबल टू हेज द रिस्क नाउ। ओके, यू स्टडी दैट इन एग्रीकल्चर मार्केटिंग चैप्टर। ओके, देन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट फार्मिंग, और ये 3 फार्म लॉज में से एक ने इसको प्रमोट करने की कोशिश भी की थी। ओके, ऑल्दो दे वर विड्रॉन, लेकिन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट फार्मिंग अपने आप में ही सपोर्ट की जा रही है। ओके, मॉडल लैंड लीजिंग एक्ट, कॉर्पोरेट फार्मिंग, ओके, तो ये सारी चीज़ें क्या है, ये स्टेप्स ले गए हैं. नाउ इन्हीं में से वे फॉरवर्ड देना था आपको कि हाउ दिस कैन बी फर्दर इम्प्रूव्ड. तो बेटर कोल्ड स्टोरेज फैसिलिटीज, वेयर हाउसेस, है ना, गोडाउन्स, इनको बनाना, इसमें प्राइवेट सेक्टर का पार्टिसिपेशन इंश्योर करना. ओके, मिडिल मैन को हटाना. हाउ टू इंश्योर दैट? फॉर बाय better regulation of APMCs, mandis, okay, and also giving the farmers the independence to sell their produce in other markets, rural hearts. Okay, जो बाजार वगैरह लगे locals, वहाँ भी freedom होनी चाहिए उनको. Okay, so in many states those reforms have already been taken also. So this was not a tough question. Now coming to the last question here from economic section, that is, what is integrated farming system and how is it helpful to small and marginal farmers in India? Okay. So what is integrated farming system and how it is helpful for small and marginal farmers in India? तो ये डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन है. देखिए यही है कि 15 मार्कर्स में भी यूपीएससी ने इतने इजी क्वेश्चंस पूछे हुए. ओके, तो इंटीग्रेटेड फार्मिंग का सिस्टम क्या है? इंटीग्रेटेड का क्या मतलब होता है? कनेक्टिंग द टू so that they become one complete whole. Okay, so that is what you know as integrated. Integrated farming means what? Interlinking or interdependent production system. एक ऐसा इंटररिलेटेड प्रोडक्शन सिस्टम जहां पास प्राइमरी और सेकेंडरी आउटपुट ऑफ वन सिस्टम, प्राइमरी और सेकेंडरी आउटपुट ऑफ वन सिस्टम can be used in other system, can be used as input in second system. ओके, तो ये है इंटीग्रेटेड प्रोडक्शन सिस्टम का फीचर. इंटीग्रेटेड फार्मिंग में यही चीज़ क्या होगी? इसका मतलब हो गया, बहुत सिंपल टर्म्स में इसका मतलब होगा कि एग्रीकल्चर और लाइव स्टॉक मैनेजमेंट या एनिमल हस्बेंड्री को इंटीग्रेटेड वे में करना. ओके, सो द output of agriculture would be rice, along with that rice husk. So that is a secondary produce, a secondary output, which can be utilized as an input of fodder material for livestock, for animal husbandry, उस एरिया के लिए. और उसका आउटपुट क्या होगा? एनिमल एक्सक्रीटा, which can be used as input, that is fertilizers or manures. Okay, manures in agriculture. तो क्या है? इंटीग्रेटेड होल सिस्टम बन रहा है यहाँ पास. ओके, यहाँ पास एक सिस्टम दूसरे सिस्टम को सप्लीमेंट कर रहा है. ओके, उसका जो आउटपुट है सेकेंडरी आउटपुट, इसमें इनपुट की तरह यूज हो रहा है. इसका जो सेकेंडरी आउटपुट है उसमें इनपुट की तरह यूज हो रहा है. ओके, तो इससे क्या होगा? पूरा का पूरा सिस्टम बहुत ज़्यादा एफिशिएंट हो जाएगा. ओके, सो इट इज गोइंग टू बी द होल सिस्टम बिकम्स व्हाट? द होल सिस्टम बिकम्स मोर इकोनॉमिकली वायबल, okay, profitable and environment friendly or eco friendly. ठीक है ना? क्योंकि because of this now agricultural produce में how it is going to benefit? It is going to replace the chemical fertilizers because the animal excreta can be used as manures, which is going to take care of soil health. Okay, it's going to increase the fertility. There will be better and more efficient utilization of the secondary produce of agriculture, which can be used as fodder, okay, as input in animal husbandry, livestock management. तो जैसे पोल्ट्री, फिशिंग, ओके, लाइव स्टॉक के साथ एग्रीकल्चर, तो उसके बहुत सारे फायदे हैं। और इसका बेटर रिसोर्स यूटिलाइजेशन भी होगा, मतलब बेटर रिसोर्स यूटिलाइजेशन, ओके, रिप्लेसिंग केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर्स। सेकेंड पार्ट ऑफ क्वेश्चन को भी आप इसमें शामिल कर रहे हैं, हाउ इज इट हेल्पफुल टू स्मॉल एंड मार्जिनल फार्मर्स इन इंडिया, ओके। तो लेस देन 1 hectare ऑफ लैंड, दिस एक्चुअली कम, दिस ग्रुप is actually 85% of the total farmers in India. वो क्या है, स्मॉल एंड मार्जिनल ही है। तो उनके पास क्या होगी, दे हैव लिटिल लैंड टू कल्टिवेट, टू यूज, ओके। सो दे कांट गो फॉर व्हाट, mechanized agriculture, okay. So whatever little they had, they have to utilize it in a more efficient manner, okay. And how they can do so, through integrated farming, okay. So which is going to be economically more viable, more profitable, eco-friendly also. So it is also going to help them in replacing the need of the chemical fertilizers. Not only that, it is going to take care of the fertility of the soil also. It is going to further improve it. Fertility of the soil is going to further improve, okay. Then after that, you can also say that this is going to ensure cash income, okay, cash income, because with livestock management, animal husbandry, they will be relying not just on agricultural income or income coming from agricultural produce, but they will be having a supplementary source of income also. So cash income. They can also go for now crop diversification, okay, because they will also think that the secondary produce of that, primary and secondary produce of that, can be used also in the second system, that is livestock management, poultry, or fishing, okay. तो कैश इनफ्लो इनका बढ़ेगा, ओके, क्रॉप डाइवर्सिफिकेशन बढ़ेगा, ओके। नाउ विथ बेटर यूज ऑफ मैन्योर्स, वो पहले तो केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर्स इतने लार्ज स्केल में तो नहीं यूज़ कर पा रहे होंगे, तो प्रोडक्टिविटी उसकी वजह से भी कम होगी, बट बिकॉज नाउ आर एबल टू यूज मैन्योर्स एंड ऑल, सो प्रोडक्टिविटी विल ऑल्सो इंक्रीज, ओके। सो हायर प्रोडक्टिविटी, तो एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोड्यूस से भी जो इनकम है वो क्या है, वो भी बढ़ रही है, ओके। सप्लीमेंट्री इनकम तो आ ही रही है, एनिमल हस्बेंड्री, लाइव स्टॉक मैनेजमेंट, okay. So this is how this is going to be helpful. So firstly you define it, you give examples, you can also make a diagram with how the primary and secondary output of one system is used as input in the other, okay. Then you can discuss what are the benefits of this particular system of farming to small and marginal farmers. Also uh, pointing out the significance, because this constitutes the majority of farmers in India, okay. So this is going to further improve their situation there, okay, because generally they indulge in subsistence kind of farming, and because they are not able to generate surplus, the economic activity that they are indulged in, that is agricultural activity, is not giving them economic returns. So through integrated farming, they are going to use the resources, the land that they have, in a better manner, okay, and can make the whole system more economically profitable, okay, commercially more profitable, okay. So this is something that you needed to highlight. Again, easy question था, इसमें कुछ difficult नहीं था। हाँ, कुछ और डेटा वगैरह से बात करते हैं इसमें जैसे 85% ऑफ द फार्मर्स इन इंडिया आर फेसिंग दिस काइंड ऑफ प्रॉब्लम। कुछ फ्लो चार्ट्स वगैरह बनाते हैं, कुछ यहाँ पास डायग्राम बना देते हैं इंटीग्रेटेड फार्मिंग का, जैसे आप गूगल भी करेंगे तो इंटीग्रेटेड फार्मिंग का बहुत आसानी से वो डायग्राम मिलता है, ओके। तो जब क्वेश्चन बहुत जनरल हो तो यही करना होता है, टू गेन, टू मेक इट मार्क्स फेचिंग, टू मेक द आंसर मार्क्स फेचिंग। तो यही कुछ चीज़ें थी, बाकी सब्सटेंस में आपने देखा कि बहुत डिफिकल्ट कुछ नहीं है, ओके। ओनली वन क्वेश्चन वाज देयर विच रिक्वायर्ड the knowledge of concepts which are generally missed by students, okay. तो अगर बहुत ज़्यादा न्यूज़ फॉलो कर रहे होते तभी वो चीज़ अब हो सकता है कुछ लोग बहुत ज़्यादा न्यूज़ फॉलो करने से कंफ्यूज हुए हों, क्योंकि रिसेंट में तो मैंने जैसा कि बताया कि लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी एक्चुअली कम हुई है मैन्युफैक्चर में। उन्होंने पूछा है कि लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ने से रिसेंट पास में इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ हुई है। ओके, सो दिस वाज द डिस्कशन ऑन द क्वेश्चंस व्हिच आर कमिंग फ्रॉम द कोर इंडियन इकोनॉमी सेक्शन. Now, whatever questions have not been discussed in this part are going to be discussed in next part of the discussion on GS3 paper that is going to be there on at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, so there you will have discussion on environment, security, and science and tech. Okay, so this was all about this discussion. Thank you.